The top 3 tools we use to get our jobs done.
One would be product life cycle management tool, like a PLM system. And I say that because you can create tech packs there. Besides Excel, I mean, everyone in the industry knows Excel.
Right.
However, a lot of places have PLM. So knowing how to create a bill of material sheet, how to create tech packs, and what a tech pack is. So tech pack is really called a technical package, and it is your blueprint to the factory of how to make this sample. It has technical flat sketches, which actually show the stitching, garment, how to construct it. Everything is in your tech pack.
Right.
So when you go to a factory, first thing they're going to look at is, do you have a tech pack? That will give them a clue of you know what you're doing. Also switched over to using 3D. Software will be Browseware and Clo 3D, Style 3D. Mostly the companies use either Browseware or Clo. It's really just a matter of what your preference is. If you're familiar with Illustrator, then Clo is set up a little bit closer to Illustrator. It's a learning tool, and with Browseware, you can create digital patterns all the way to a 3D asset is what we call it, using an avatar. You're stitching together the pattern and you're adding colorways, and you're actually giving your clients a 3D view of this is what the sample is going to look like before you actually have a manufacturer make it.
It cuts down on cost.
Very sustainability. So that's something that I would actually recommend everyone to just try it out, because I do believe that's one of the ways that we can keep things going, especially with the technology and how advanced everything is going to be.
Number one tool that I use is Illustrator. It's basically the whole Adobe suite, but Illustrator is what I use on a daily basis. You use it for the flat sketches that Tish spoke about. You use it to develop your ideas. So you use it for trims, use it for colorways, for CADs when you go and present to buyers. So this is basically what you use to get your ideas on paper so you can sell your product to whatever company. Number two, I love Photoshop, and I use Photoshop for my textiles to develop prints and graphics. Whatever texture or print that you put on fabric, I develop that in Photoshop and I bring it over to Illustrator. I do everything in 2D. So what Tish was talking about was 3D. So it's the same concept, but everything is flat on a CAD. What Tish does is make it into a 3D, and the mannequin will just turn around and you will see every side of the mannequin, because it does save production costs. So you don't have to send it overseas to get a pattern made, then have it come back. They cut down a lot of time, a lot of consumption, and get that stuff done. And of course, I use Excel. I don't use a PLM system. Excel is very easy, and I can just plug and play all of my sketches and everything in there, along with the specs and all that other stuff. For those of you who want to learn how to basically take the home sewing and make it into a professional, we're going to be offering an online course to do that using Illustrator and Photoshop and Excel. So cover me chic, yes.
Big thing that I use is QuickBooks. You got to have some sort of money management software. If you don't want to pay for QuickBooks, set up a free Excel sheet. You have to manage your money, because if you don't, you're just going to keep spending it, and then you're going to wonder why you can't stay afloat. With Browseware, it saves all that time and it saves all that money, because you can see it before you start cutting out your fabric and making all these samples.
I teach Photoshop, Illustrator, and we'll be getting into Browseware because you need an actual license for that. And how I got my license was through an independent designer program, where I actually sent in my resume to Browseware for them to approve to give me a free license, an independent license. And with that, went to what they have called Browseware University, and you take all of those classes. It's a ton of classes, but they explain everything, and you can go at your own pace.
Right, and I did it the same thing because she hooked me up. The Creative Suite, Adobe, you do have to pay for.
It's
They
like
do
$32.
have student discount. I think they have a 30-day trial, but they do have alternative to Adobe Suite. I don't know it offhand, but I'm going to look it up, and I'm gonna put it in like the show notes on our website. I can't vouch for them because I haven't used them.
You can do a lot of things in Canva, but again, it's going to cost to do the really good things like Canva Pro. It's minimal. It's probably about $10 to $12 a month. If you want to start small, invest in Canva Pro.
Yeah, because Adobe is $32
a month, or you can just pay annually. It's industry standard. So if you're going to be in the industry and you are working as a designer, or you're going to be sharing files of any kind, I would suggest investing in Adobe.
Before you invest in any of them, take advantage of those 30-day trials. Don't sign up for your free trial unless you're absolutely ready to start, because it'll be day 29 and you haven't done anything.
I would recommend and YouTube University. You can
Mhm.
watch a bunch of tutorials where they're showing you how to use these softwares. Just follow along and just watch it. So that way you can kind of see if it's something that you really want to invest in.
You know, there's Udemy and
Yeah.
Domestika and all of these sites that offer classes. Just look into them and take one of the lower price classes before you invest in a university education.
What is something that you think that most people wouldn't use when they're dealing with developing fashions?
Following a lot of trend reports on Instagram, because to actually get a subscription to WGSN, and I'm telling everyone this, WGSN is a resource that corporate companies and college universities invest in. It costs thousands of dollars,
Yeah.
and they actually do trend reports in advance. The independent person or the home sewer doesn't have that luxury, but you can follow few trend reports.
Follow brands that you admire. Follow your favorite designers. Follow your favorite model. Buy a Vogue once a year and just flip through it. They're very ad based now, but those ads speak volumes because there are probably ads in there now for what's coming in the spring.
I think right now is Milan Fashion Week, so WWD has actually been streaming the fashion shows for free.
And the cut from New York
Instagram.
Times. Use your internet.
For people who don't know, we
Yeah.
always develop at least a year in advance. So it gives you time to produce the garment and get it and ship it to the stores that need to be shipped. So it's always a year ahead. And some companies do like a year and a half. It depends on how big the company is and what the turnaround time is. So bigger companies, the turnaround time is a lot more because it's a lot more people involved. But smaller
And-
companies have a quicker turnaround. I mean, if depending on the factories you work with and everything, they can turn stuff around in 6 months, which is, that's usually if you work in domestic. But most people work at least a year. And with COVID, that's why there was so much backup burning
Mhm.
things in the
Yes.
stores because the stuff that was supposed to ship was just
Yeah.
stuck in port.
Some other softwares that I've used, calculator.
Designing is math.
You know
The
what I have?
difference between a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch is
It's
a
a
whole
big-
size.
You can mess up something really bad with a 1/4 of an inch. What
Yeah.
I keep basically a decimals to fraction,
Yes.
a chart.
Yes.
Maybe we should just like give like a sample of that away. But you're gonna have to sign up for the
Yes.
newsletter. But you can
Yes.
download it for free at Designers Plants and Coffee. It's for everybody in the industry that's doing anything with
Yes.
clothes. And you can just pull it out, paste it on your wall somewhere, and you'll use it. Believe me.
I'm taking a pattern making class now and centimeters. Do your inches to
Yes,
centimeters.
and
Because when you
okay.
are making those slopers, centimeters count.
Yeah.
If my pattern instructor says make it 9 centimeter, I can look on my ruler and say, oh, that's 3 inches or whatever it translates to.
This is the ruler that I use. This is the
I-
best ruler ever.
Wait,
2
why
inch
that-
by 18 inch. I use this just measuring everything.
You know those little fuzzy dots that you put on the bottom of things to keep it from sliding?
Yeah.
Put those on the bottom. It'll keep your ruler in place while it's on the fabric. When I'm working on fabric, I use washable markers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chalk is fine, but it's messy.
I have the really heavy duty fabric weight. When I was doing hand embroidery in my frame, my professor, he created an entire frame from 2 sticks of wood and some organza. He showed us how to stitch it together and some clamps. It showed us how to actually just create your own frame instead of paying a couple $100s. You can actually think of different ways to look around your house to create and what you can use for tools. Even for fabric weights. Before I had the heavy pattern weights, I was using bottles of mustard. So you can actually use things that are around your house. But please consult a professional.
This is Zahia from Cover Me Chic and Tish from Keeping You in Stitches and Naima from Fearless Threads. Just follow us at Designers Plants and Coffees and leave your comments. See you later.